worry, Katie. I won't let anything harm you. Ever again. It's nice to have a friend.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to another Backlot Banter movie review. My name is Tucker, and I'm joined by my co-host whose spontaneous learning is constantly evolving, Tanner Dystra, and today we're here to talk about M3GAN, the first movie of 2023, born in that slot that is oh so dangerous for crappy horror films. But M3GAN seems to be bucking that trend, and we are very excited to talk about it. And so it seems is everyone else. So if you want to talk to us about M3GAN or any of the movies that are releasing, many of the exciting films releasing in this first part of the year, join our Discord. That link is in the top description. And while you're down there, you can like our video, you can subscribe to our channel, ring that bell so you know when we review Plane, when we review House Party, Missing, all these classics. You're not going to want to miss them. But Tanner, we have seen M3GAN. I'm very happy to have you join me here for our first review of 2023. And you know what? Hey, not a bad way to start off the year.
I don't think so either. I don't think so either, Tucker. M3GAN was a whole lot of fun. I don't know about you, but we had a fairly full theater, and
Mine
they
was
were
chock full. No,
chock full?
I got the last seat. Yeah,
nice, very cool. And it was pretty vocal in there. You know, lots of laughs, lots of everyone was excited to see M3GAN, and I think that's what's really interesting about this is that you mentioned that this is usually a cursed spot for the box office, especially for horror movies, and yet this comes out. It had incredible marketing. It had incredible buzz leading up to it. Social media, memes aplenty. And that seems to be translating into people actually seeing the movie opening weekend. It seems to be exceeding expectations at the box office this weekend. And justifiably so, because M3GAN is a very fun movie, I would say.
I think my main takeaway from M3GAN is that for the first time in my life and your life, as we've been cognizant of new movies coming out, I feel like I'm really on the ground floor of a new horror franchise, a new icon of horror, because watching the character M3GAN come to life on screen and do things that we don't see other horror villains, horror characters, horror killers do, I'm like, this is something different. Yes, it's pulling on rogue AI stuff that you can take all the way back to like Metropolis or 2001: A Space Odyssey. It's ripping on Child's Play, which has been beaten dead. You even did a reboot of that a couple years ago with AI, but M3GAN as a person, as a character, has such a unique and distinct personality and behavioral patterns and actions that and ways she delivers her lines that I'm like, yes, this is the modern horror killer iconic character that we have been waiting for. We've gotten a lot of good horror movies over the last decade, but not a lot of characters or villains, especially. You know, think of the 70s and 80s. You and I used to do this like once every 2 weeks for whatever reason. We're like, what are the horror characters that came out of each decade? And we're like, oh yeah, you know, you got Freddy Krueger and Michael Myers and Jason Voorhees and Chucky and Pinhead. And like, oh, okay, oh, and then the 2000s it kind of drops off.
The 90s, you get Ghostface, and that's it. And then here we got M3GAN now, and I think she's a great, just a great concept, a great impetus for a horror movie like this. Yeah. She is fun. The writers know how to imbue her with some fun moments, but also make her intimidating at points.
Absolutely.
This is, of course, just a PG-13 horror movie, which is maybe, I think, my only slight with this film.
Exactly
is that it feels a little toothless at times with its kills, with its slasher elements.
Yes.
But at the same time, it knows how to have fun. You know, it can, you know, M3GAN can replicate voice patterns and stuff like that. And she can pull people's ears off of their heads and throw them down in front of cars, which I think is probably the most brutal moment of the whole film.
Seeing that guy's ears stretched out is pretty killer. I was holding my ear in the theater.
Like an 11-year-old boy or whatever, killed by a rogue car running him over. That's pretty brutal. But at the same time, you know, there's points where, like, we all know the classic moment from the trailer where she, like, grabs that little thing that she makes into a sword and does her dance. That's pretty muted, I feel, for a slasher. But I think that M3GAN is such a compelling horror presence outside of those killer moments that's fun. When she's getting into a McLaren and driving to the house and hacking into the Alexa type AI that this house runs on, it's all good moments.
Yeah, I think that, well, let's talk a little bit about the negatives, because unfortunately this movie doesn't hit the highs that I think it has the potential to, and I think there's two very distinct reasons. I think you're right about the PG-13-ness. There were moments where I'm like, okay, I wanted another kill here. I wanted to see this a little more clarity. There's a lot of cutting away from when the moment of killing happens, and I'm like, oh, all right, it's PG-13. But then I can justify them doing that because making this a PG-13 horror franchise means it's going to put more butts in seats. She's going to become a more popular character with younger people because they're able to see it on opening night. And so, okay, yeah, it makes sense that they're growing their franchise more quickly with that rating. And also, I do think that while the marketing, yes, put so many butts in seats, it's making her a popular character. Yeah, it showed basically all the good moments of the movie, like the lines that M3GAN has. All the kills, I believe, are in the trailer. I just watched it again last night.
Yeah, I think so.
Which is unfortunate. Except for the dog.
The dog.
Yeah, but and so when I was watching the movie, I was really enjoying the ride, but I realized that so many of the moments that are the most fun moments of the movie that show her personality the most, I'm like, yep, I knew this was going to happen. And there's not a lot of surprises in M3GAN, which I think is maybe where the score doesn't hit like 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10 for me. A little bit of spoilers for when we get our ratings, but I wish I was surprised because I think M3GAN as a character with the really witty writing that she has and the script and the themes of these characters, there could have been surprises there. But they did so well with the marketing that the marketing kind of pulled the rug out under the movie.
Yeah, a little bit. I would say so. And Tucker, I do want to shout out the performance behind M3GAN of Amy Donald doing the physical performance and Jenna Davis doing the vocal performance. I think it really coalesces nicely into the. Some of my favorite moments of the film are when someone who isn't familiar with M3GAN looks at her and thinks she's a little girl, and they're like, especially the camp counselor, she's like, Jesus Christ!
Yeah.
Those are fun moments, and I think that comes across in the design of the character as well.
Yeah, and I also do have to give a big shout out to Kayla Cooper, the screenwriter for this movie, who is a burgeoning talent who did *Malignant*. In my opinion, much better movie, but from a couple years ago. And she's doing *The Nun* 2, which is coming out soon. So she hasn't missed yet, and it actually kind of makes me excited for *The Nun* 2.
Tucker, don't let yourself
one of the lamest fucking Conjuring movies they made, and there's a lot of them.
Tucker, it's gonna be bad, but that's okay. You know.
Oh God, she can't hit all the time, but I do think that the screenplay is surprisingly strong in other areas that aren't just M3GAN's dialogue. It's not the craziest, but for an early January horror movie or Blumhouse horror movie, I actually think there are some really interesting themes here for the human characters to wrestle with. We're talking about the use of technology in replacement or support of parenting, the dealing with parenting and managing a professional life and working women that are obsessed with their professional life, which is not something we see particularly often, especially not in horror movies. And I think that they all weave interesting characters for our main human characters, played by, let me pull this up, Allison Williams and Violet McGraw, as Gemma and her
Katie.
I'm looking at a name on here. It's not a Katie. It's Kady.
Yes, exactly.
What the hell? But they are very well performed, and I think that there's a lot of interesting themes in their dynamic there, and M3GAN does play into that really, really interestingly.
Yeah, I think they can kind of walk the line of their performances change over the course of the film. Gemma, Allison Williams, kind of walks that line of a suspicious yet sort of clueless at times horror protagonist, whereas Violet McGraw, her performance as Katie goes from like very quiet and reserved from having lost her parents to that moment in the car when she is where M3GAN's like psychological grip has totally taken hold, where she's addicted to this toy, and that's another theme.
Absolutely,
brought those
addiction
up,
to technology.
Yeah, addiction to the technology. And I mean, there's a dialogue exchange about this towards the end of the third, or towards the beginning of the third act, I would say, where Gemma basically says, you know, it's good to like feel negative feelings because that helps us grow as people, and you can't use, you know, this toy as a crutch, as an attachment, as a replacement for your parents. And all of those themes you mentioned, especially the one I mentioned, are explicitly stated in the dialogue. This isn't a thematically subtle film at all. It's not subtle in any regard, I would say. But at the same time, that's what makes it so. That's what leans it into the campy camp and makes it fun.
Yeah, and I do think that the campiness is another element that I wish they'd leaned into a little bit harder, because that's where the movie's identity is absolutely its strongest. It's when M3GAN is consoling Katie in this thing, and there's this boardroom of people that are like about to maybe support the product, Megan.
Yeah.
And this one woman in the back, like, she's like
Yeah.
wiping off her tail. And everyone in the audience starts laughing. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
that's funny. Or when Ronnie Chen, who plays Gemma's boss, is like delivering some really wacky lines, that's good. But then the movie does ebb and flow, I think, a little bit too hard between really fun camping moments, especially that opening the opening fake commercial. The fake commercials are
Perpetual
so
Pets. Yes.
good in this movie. They're so accurate to like a Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon, like Saturday morning crappy advertisement. But those are really good moments. But unfortunately, it does, as I said, like ebb and flow down to like pretty mundane, like serious drama moments occasionally. And I'm like, oh, okay, I see what you're going for here. It's like building the themes, but the movie's identity is kind of lost in those moments.
Yeah, the beginning is a bit slow, especially with stuff like that. Okay, her parents died, I get it. Okay, we're establishing that she's living with her aunt, and her aunt doesn't really know how to raise kids, and we're establishing her aunt's job, and da-da-da-da-da-da. And, it takes a surprisingly long amount of time for us to get to M3GAN.
Yeah. Yeah, and especially because we feel like we're waiting for M3GAN to show up. I do feel like that first part of the movie it's fine. It's well produced. It's well acted. I like the themes. I understand what they're going for there, but the movie doesn't gain its own steam until M3GAN goes in the scene, and then even then, it's like another like almost full hour of the movie until we start getting her going full M3GAN and actually committing violent acts against people. There's such a long wait for that violence that I actually, and this is going to be kind of like the bow on top of all this. I really love M3GAN. I like these characters. I like these themes. Horror franchise starting here. That's the key. This is the first movie in what's presumably a franchise. I believe maybe they've confirmed they're working on a sequel.
They're working on a sequel currently. Yes.
Okay, good.
Right now.
But I can't wait to see a movie where, everyone knows M3GAN is a malicious force. She knows she's a malicious force, and the entire movie can be her acting in her cocky way. She has grown as an individual, and she says, "My primary user is now me," and I'm like,
there you go. Yeah,
because we can see her carry that into future movies, and we don't have to have this, hour 20 of ostensibly kind of padding to get to what we know M3GAN is best at, is delivering these sassy one-liners in a way that I've never seen. Like, maybe Freddy Krueger will deliver some quirky one-liners.
Yeah, he's
or
a cornball.
Like Chucky,
he's a cornball killer. Yeah,
but she is gaslight, girl boss, gatekeep, like full on, and it's really great.
Yeah. And to your point, Tucker, I do appreciate how the sequel tease is done in this. We get the little seed planted towards the middle of the film with, oh god, what's his name? The little Weasley guy.
Oh,
Kevin?
Kurt.
Kurt, thank you. He puts the M3GAN schematics into a little private hard drive that he has.
Oh, true. I didn't even think about that part, but you're right. Yeah.
And then, of course, at the very end, as Gemma and Katie walk out of the house, the camera hangs on the little Alexa robot that's on the counter. That
Elsie,
turns
I believe.
on. Elsie, yes. And you're like, okay. M3GAN's AI is uploaded into that thing, and that's how she's gonna come back, and she's gonna somehow get someone to build her a new body with the schematics on Kurt's hard drive. Bing, bang, boom, tied all together. That's
and I actually think that if we're talking a little bit about what that sequel could be in terms of like how she makes a new body, I do think that like the movie is set up well enough to like the hype of toys and internet culture and high-end products and stuff like that. I can easily imagine M3GAN being able to like send these documents to like a guy in a lab somewhere. And it's like, hey, you want to get the inside scoop on how to get the greatest toy? And it's like, oh, I'll make a quick buck. I'll put together this titanium and whatever like high-end technology thing, and then M3GAN will be like, thanks, bye, stab him in the neck, and then walk out of the house.
Exactly. Tucker, what score would you give to M3GAN?
So I gave M3GAN a 7 when I walked out of the theater on my Letterboxd app, but I do think the movie heightens as I think back on. Of course, it's only been a day, so it's not like a huge amount of time, but when this movie works, it really works, and it does feel super distinct as a modern horror movie, again, the start of a franchise. And so I think this movie deserves higher scores than maybe like the actual film itself deserves for me. So like I'm going to give this a high 7. I'm going with a 7.8. It's not going to be a low 7. I think that once we get more of M3GAN, I can see this being like a 5-film franchise. Who the hell knows? I'm just putting it out there.
5-film franchise and then straight to DVD shitty sequels.
No,
that's what I'm predicting.
Don't do it, Jason Blum. Don't do it. You knocked it out of the park with this one. But once we get more of her, I can see us like looking back in this movie, be like, oh, it's the origins of M3GAN. Isn't that so cool? Like a lot of horror franchises, they might have like a pretty good start, but then you like really get into it and you're like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
that first one, it's what started it all. But man, what a great way to start off 2023, to start off a new franchise. I really, really enjoyed M3GAN.
I'm gonna give it a low 7. I'm gonna go a flat
Okay,
7 on M3GAN.
sure.
And I will be highly anticipating M3GAN 2.
Yeah.
M3GAN
Yeah.
2.
What do you think when they get to the third one, they're really going to lean into three? Do you think that's
For
even
sure.
possible? Or
Maybe
do you
three
think we
threes.
get? Oh no, Megan?
M3GAN.
Oh Jesus. Well, if you're excited for Matugan or Megan, you should join our Discord and wait with us for 2 years, because that's
Hmm.
probably how long it's going to take the next sequel to come out.
And enjoy
And,
the rest of the January releases that are coming up. Each of them
yeah,
as hyped up as M3GAN was. You know what I'm talking about?
and they'll be as good, right?
Right.
Right. Yeah. Well, we'll see. Jesus Christ, Megan's in my brain.
Yep.
She's detracting from my focus.
Mhm.
If you want to join us for those reviews, again, stick around, and we will see you guys in those said reviews. I solemnly vow to follow whatever M3GAN does for the rest of my days.